Say hey everyone, welcome into another edition of Say Hey Plays. My name is Jose Bouquett. Alongside me today, little Ian Cameron. Ian, first of all, how are you?
I thought you were going to say alongside me Malik Henry or Malik Willis, the way that came out of your mouth when you were
Yeah,
trying
well,
to
I'm having,
introduce me there.
I was having a tough day right now, and now it's already transferring to the intro.
Not
It's
quite the right complexion or quite the athleticism, yeah, for
no,
that.
well, I don't know. I challenge you on the athleticism part on that. Challenge you on the complexion. You've definitely got correct there, Ian.
Right.
I do hope you see the sun sometime soon, Ian. But I'm glad that you're with us, and I'm glad that you're here because I am in the coldest streak of the season so far. Ian, we'll keep it cut and dry here. I think this is the worst like 3 or 4 day stretch I've had since the 5th. So you do the math there. I guess that's 4 days. But since then, Ian, I am 4-20, down 18 units since then, just getting brutalized right now. And I called in Jimmy yesterday. He had a winning day. I fucking over yesterday, just got shit on all over the place. I bet on 3 sides. They scored a combined 1 run. So it's been not good, Ian, but I'm glad you're here. Your high volume capping, your energy, and your positivity is going to bring me through here. We're going to have a breakthrough day here.
Yeah,
And
welcome to MLB. You're going to have a
fuck
run.
yeah.
I don't know if everyone is going to have a run or everyone will have a run like that, but you're going to have a run where you go 9-20 or you go 8-17 or something like that. It's going to happen. If you're going to bet this sport and commit to betting MLB and handicapping the card every day for a 162 game regular season, you're going to have days like that. You've got to accept it. It's too long of a season. It's too much of a grind to cap the sport every day to not have one patch where you go through a major rut. I've had them year after year in this sport. You just hope to have more of the good times and the good runs than the bad ones.
Yes, and you're right about that. And in my silver linings here, I've been thinking about is that at least it's happening now because I'd rather it happen now than in the playoffs because I want to be on fire in the playoffs. And like I said, this is not the first time this has happened. This is the coldest I've been. But this is not the first time I've had a little down stretch in it. And then, like Cab says, you got to kind of ride the wave. You go up and down, up and down. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep riding the wave here. It's going to be a good day today. I can feel it coming. I broke down this card pretty heavily. I might not make any plays. I definitely have the parlay in. Don't worry. We got the parlay in from earlier today. So the Say Hey / Friends and Family parlay still underway. We're still going to keep doing it because the people love parlays. But we're going to break this card down very well. And I'm excited to talk about it. Ian, are you ready over there?
I sure am. Let's go.
Beautiful. Let's roll into it. I actually am now uploading the Say Hey counter video because classic me, I did not upload it, but I'll shout out my guy Rocco Rogers real quick. He's on the Big Rock Pod. Larry, look at that. Big Rock Pod. Wheeler over 6.5 strikeouts. Damon Santori. My man's in here. Eric Chang. Thank you for the prayers. Oh, remember, don't send me thoughts and prayers. I only want one, T's or P's. I appreciate your prayers, Eric. Thank you very much. Viper MB in here as well. Top set, Wine Time Sport. Dave Beckett, I like the Malik Bobano. You know, I like it. I like the look there. Maybe he'll get some action. Where's Malik Willis? I don't know where he is football wise. That's how much I know about the football right now. So that's hilarious. But let's just get right into the freaking baseball because the video finally uploaded. Say Hey Plays 120. Say Hey 122 officially underway here.
Tennessee Titans, of course, those wondering. That's where Willis is.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Yeah, you're right about that. Ryan Tannehill. I forgot about that. So shout out to him and shout out to Liberty. Actually, no shout out to Liberty because they're no shout out to Liberty. Miami Marlins versus the Phillies here. Zach Wheeler and Braxton Garrett. And I find this matchup fascinating because I am really just puzzled by Braxton Garrett, I guess, at the end of the day. He's had 2 back-to-back starts against the Reds. He strikes out a lot of dudes. But at the same time, he always seems to give up a few runs. And you know, I like strikeout pitchers. And I guess the allure of him and him being a lefty draws me to him. But at the end of the day, I couldn't back them, the Miami Marlins, because their offense is just putrid. It is just not. It's a quadruple A lineup over there, and they're 27th against righties, 80 weighted runs created plus. Phillies are hitting lefties pretty well right now. 7th, 123 weighted runs created plus. Zach Wheeler, by the way, career against the Miami Marlins, 9-4, sub 3 ERA, 2.45, and a second start for him this year. And his first start was a bad one, but it was the second start of the season. So I think he dominates here. I wouldn't be surprised. Probably lean towards an under, but I don't trust Braxton Garrett enough against the Phillies lineup.
Yeah, and that's the issue here is Garrett facing this Phillies team that's hitting the ball, especially as you mentioned, against lefties pretty well as of late. There's no doubt the Phillies have been able to do that. Of course, over the weekend, they mashed Washington pitching. Washington's pitching is miserable. I mean, they're throwing out Sanchez and they're throwing out Patrick Corbin somehow every 5 days. So I don't know if you want to make too much of a big deal of it, but really, nevertheless, I mean, they've been able to hit bad teams and bad pitching, and they did it against Pittsburgh. They did it against Washington, and they've been able to beat up on the bad teams. And I don't see what changes tonight. I like the Phillies first 5, Phillies full game here run line. In this game, Wheeler has a sub 2 ERA at home. He's pitched outstanding all season long at Citizens Bank Ballpark, 1.58 ERA. Marlins can't hit a lick. It continues to be a struggle to score runs during this 2-7 streak. You know, they have scored 3 runs or fewer in 8 of those 9 games. I mean, it's just been a putrid lineup here for Miami. So it shouldn't be a lineup that Wheeler has too much stress against tonight, be able to shut them down. Garrett, his ERA on the road's 4.2. It's not great. Phillies, like I said, hitting lefties. So we're going to go with the classic Ian split here. First 5, full game, Phillies run line.
I'm way overdue for putting your face on Freddie Freeman's body when he's doing the splits. Way overdue for that. That is just entirely my fault, Ian. I'm sorry I've deprived you of that image. Next game on the slate here, Toronto Blue Jays, Baltimore Orioles. And it's funny to me because I feel like I watch the Blue Jays often, and I think that they're one of the best teams in the American League. I think they're right there with the Astros. I say they're the second best team, truthfully. And when I say this, I get this tremendous pushback, especially from the Canadians. Jimmy doesn't think so. He just says they're not clutch. We've talked about Alek Manoah. Him, you know, I don't know if it's struggling, but he's not pitching to what he was earlier in the season. 2 back-to-back starts with, I would say poor starts, 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs against the Twins. At the Twins is a good one. I'll definitely admit that. But the Tigers start should just count as 2 bad starts in one. 5 1/3, 7 hits, 4 earned runs there against one of the worst offenses in baseball. He's hit his career high already in innings pitched, which is always a little marker for all of us gamblers. You know, keep an eye on 132 innings pitched. He had 111 last year, I think I read. So I'd be a little worried there. And now we know, truthfully, Jimmy and I don't talk too much baseball because we're always talking about stuff for the show production wise. So I don't know why he's super into Kyle Bradish now, but Bradish is pitching well. And ultimately, I would have to trust his intuition on this stuff because he's been capping the games and he's doing a really good job as well. So that's a cap the capper situation. So I guess at the end of the day, it might be a little Baltimore Orioles action, maybe a little under action if you're feeling ballsy, maybe a team total for the Orioles. But ultimately, I'm passing on this game as well.
Yeah, Jimmy has more of an opinion of Bradish positive than I do. I'm still not ready totally to buy into it. What were 5 hit innings against Texas and Cincinnati, and that's enough to think he's going to be big time. I don't know. I just don't feel that way. I feel that whenever he faces a pretty good hitting team, he gets crushed, or a team that's going to make the playoffs. And that's exactly, if you look at his track record, what we've seen. Struggled against the Yankees, lit up by the Rays, not once but twice. Was Bradish lit up by even your Red Sox?
And they're fucking bums. They're fucking horrible.
Exactly. Lit up by the Blue Jays when he faced them back in June in that 11-1 victory, 5 runs in 4.1 innings. So, yeah, he shut down Cincinnati and Texas, but you're talking about mediocre lineups and below average baseball teams. So I think this is going to be a challenge for the O's. I like the spot too for Toronto. They've lost a couple in a row. The heartbreaker against the or actually they won the final game against Minnesota, but last night they lose. Kikuchi buried them. You know, he gave them no chance at all in that game last night with another bad start. They were down early and they just couldn't come back. Now you're right. Manoah's not been at his best, last few starts. There's no question. He wasn't even that great against Minnesota, but he gutted through it. He got through 6 innings, 2 runs with less than his A+ stuff. Struggled against the Tigers in the start before that. But overall, he's still a guy that's got the great stuff, that's got the 2.43 ERA. The Jays are 7-4 in his 11 road starts this year. Meanwhile, you contrast that to Bradish, 6.75 ERA for him, and obviously a losing record for Baltimore in his home starts. I just think spot-wise, it's good for Toronto. Certainly a pitching edge to them. But I have seen this from the Jays. I understand the trepidation some people might have. There've been instances where they're supposed to hit some of these mediocre, below-average pitchers, and at times they've stranded base runners, they've stranded runners in scoring position, and that's been an issue. But no, I like Toronto here. This is another first 5 look for me with the Blue Jays, -0.5 here in this game, which is around -120. I don't know about the full game, but the bullpen should have all the key arms back. Remember, yesterday, none of the really high-leverage relievers were available because of the way the game went on Sunday. But they're going to all be available tonight. So I might go the full game run line -1.5 as well. And keep in mind, Baltimore's bullpen doesn't have Jorge Lopez anymore, of course. And in the game last night against the Blue Jays, you look at who they used. They used a lot of their better relievers, and they had to get a lot of pitches and a lot of work from their new closer now as well last night, Felix Bautista as well. So worried about that a little bit. Baltimore's bullpen. Toronto's bullpen was depleted, shorthanded. A lot of guys worked the previous day, and that was a problem for the Jays last night. It's kind of like the reverse tonight. Baltimore's bullpen, I think, is in rough shape tonight because they used a lot of their key relievers to close out the game last night. So that could be an advantage to Toronto with the relief corps in the latter innings. So, yeah, I'll do the same with the Phillies here. Blue Jays in a first 5 full game run line split.
Yeah, I like the run line look, -110. I initially was leaning towards that Orioles team total here. But
nothing on the total for me because Bradish I like to bet over, but I don't like betting Manoah starts over. So
yeah, that's the thing that ultimately would scare me too. Like I don't, I can talk about the innings, his innings pitch, but I think until it gets later onto the season, I think that's when it'll affect him maybe a little more, and we'll see when it happens in October as well. Let's move on.
All the best relievers are available for Toronto. Pop.
Yeah, that's what makes me feel better too.
Timber, the closer Romano, they were all down for the count last night, unavailable. They're all back tonight, so that's big if they need to close it out.
Beautiful. I'll probably move on that as well with you. Shout out to Ixnizzle joining us. Red Sox Braves, next game on the docket here. Short and sweet and simple. The Red Sox are terrible. They're a disgrace. Jarren Duran is a horrible center fielder. He's a big whiny baby. I do not like him at all. He complained about people throwing bottle caps at him in Cincinnati or in Kansas City, excuse me.
City.
Yeah, and I mean, Ian, I know you know a little more historical facts than I do. I correct me if I'm wrong, but those Kansas City Royals fans are the rowdiest in baseball, right? They'll cuss you up and down. That southern anger, as they say. What is it, Jarren Duran doing? I can't stand him so much. But the Red Sox lose.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal to go that angry and lose it to that magnitude. Is it annoying if it happened? I didn't even know if I saw clear visual evidence that they were doing that, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, no, I don't believe him. I truly don't believe him, but whatever. Yeah, I think the Braves just come out here and smack the shit out of the Red Sox, especially after getting crushed by the Mets.
Yeah, you know what? I got 3 bets on this game. It's just, I agree. I mean, to me, I like the situation too for Atlanta. They kind of got humbled by the Mets. What did they lose? 4 or 5 games in that 5-game series with the Mets. Just when they were making up ground, just when they were knocking on the door, right behind the Mets for first in the NL East, and all of a sudden the Mets gained some ground again, winning 4 or 5. So now they have a day off following that disappointing series. And you get a chance to beat up on a Boston team that actually, against Houston, they took 2 or 3, which was kind of surprising.
Well, they needed me there. Ian. You know how that went. Come on.
That's right. They did. And, of course, they lose 3 or 4 against Kansas City over the weekend. Now reverting back to the Red Sox we know and love, for some of us anyway. But Morton, when you look at it, I always have a difficult time at trusting him. But, I think he can go out there and pitch decently. He actually pitched well in his last start that he made against the Philadelphia Phillies. A 3-1 loss. He pitched well, pitched 6.2 innings. I think he can probably do enough here against this Boston lineup. So I like Braves first 5, -0.5. Braves, this is another one. Braves first 5 run line. Braves full game run line is kind of what I'm thinking here. But I also like over 9.5. I also am getting involved in the total here because I do worry about Morton from time to time. He is susceptible, to hard hit contact, and maybe that will happen here for him. And Boston is still hitting at least a little bit. I mean, the last 3 games of the KC series, they scored 16 runs in the last 3 games combined. Their pitching's horrible, but right now they are getting the run support. And Rich Hill, when you look at it, don't have a great deal of faith in him. Atlanta crushes lefties, and kind of we've seen Rich Hill's play a little bit decline. Certainly the last start was rough against the Astros for him, and he really hasn't been nearly as sharp the last few starts. So, Atlanta should do damage against him. So it's Braves first 5 full game run line and full game over as well.
Yep, Ron Crawford, like Eric Chang saying here, Ron Crawford and Taint are both on the Braves as well. And by the way, just a quick weather report. Shout out to our guy J-Ro from shitty-ass Red Sox weather report. Been mostly cloudy, around 80 around game time. Very humid as well, with 6 to 9 mile-an-hour winds blowing over there. So shout out to you, my guy Jay. Further weather report as always. Let's move on from that shitbum Red Sox team to a very good New York Metropolitans team here. I will admit this Mets Reds game broke my spirit last night. It was amongst the many spirit breaking things that has been occurring in this little 4-day stretch or whatever it's been. The Justin Dunn pitched well, and simply the Mets the Cincinnati Reds offense just didn't show up. And since I'm so cold, I really do not feel comfortable taking this minus 300 dog right now. It's a real sad state of affairs. Carlos Carrasco has been pitching well this month. He had a bad start against the Braves and in bad relative terms, 6 innings, 3 earned runs there. Still pretty good. So I mean, it's an understatement. I'd back the minus 320 Mets, but I wouldn't hate an over here as well, but ultimately just a pass.
Yeah, a small bet for me on the Mets run line. I don't love the price. The value is really not great, but minus $1.40, 45, minus 1.5 for the Mets. I do like that a little bit. Carrasco 3-0 in his last 3 starts. He's really pitched well and does have pretty solid numbers at Citi Field this year in Queens, New York as well. 3.41 ERA, 9-3 in his home starts this year. The New York Mets. And I have no problem going against Mike Minor, obviously. Just not very good. He's not. It should be. It lives up to his name, Mike Minor. Should be in the minors right now. Definitely, Mike Minor. Terrible numbers. I mean, he was actually pretty good last time out against Miami. Miami can't hit a lick, and he still kind of struggled and labored and through 5.1 innings, 3 runs and 5 hits. Well, he's facing one of the pretty good lineups in baseball right now that have been in very good form during this great run. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. In all the victories, the New York Mets have scored a minimum of 5 runs during these 8 wins that they've had in the last 10 games. So they've been terrific at the plate. They've been in good form. I'm also on the over. I agree with your sentiment there, especially with the total 8.5. I mean, to get it below the key number of 9, I think the Mets will get 5-6 minimum. And then they face the Reds bullpen. They could even add on some after that. But I think the Reds are good enough maybe to scratch a couple of runs, 3 maybe off Carrasco and the Mets bullpen. Carrasco, even when he's great, he sometimes doesn't always just breeze through and shut you out. So Reds can, I think, tack on a few. And if they get to 2 or 3, I think this game definitely goes over the total. So Mets run line over 8.5 as well.
Yeah, I like the overlook. And by the way, shout out to Cheshire Cat joining us. I will give Bassett some credit. He pitched really well, but the Reds offense stinks. 24th, 85 weighted runs created plus against righties right now. So it's unfortunate. I don't know if it's still the case as of yesterday or as of today, but yesterday Jimmy told me as well, Cincinnati Reds are second best with runners in scoring position this year too. So pretty shocking stat there, but ultimately, it didn't matter yesterday, and we'll see if it matters today. Cleveland Guardians versus the Detroit Tigers here. Shane Bieber back in our lives. Shout out to Noli Knows wherever he is with Ski Profit. He is the master of Shane Bieber right now. He's been backing him pretty frequently, and he's been pitching well, even though Shane's velocity's been diminished, whatever, maybe the spin rates, I don't know. But his last 2 appearances since against the Arizona Diamondbacks, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, a home run, 8 Ks, no walks. And then at Tampa Bay, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run there. So he's pitched well. But I will say this. His record against the Detroit Tigers this year has not been that good. 1-2, a 3.48 ERA in 3 games started. Last time at Detroit, he gave up 5 earned runs. So ultimately, I'm definitely not taking a minus 200 Indian squad here, and I'd be leaning towards an over here because I do think that Tyler Anderson or Tyler Alexander over here thinks can get touched up, and he's pitched against them 3 times now. It will be. The 2 of those appearances weren't starts, so I don't know what we're gonna get from Anderson. Ultimately, I think the over 7.5 is a good look here.
It's been all over the map. Chris with a great comment in the chat saying Carrasco to record the win minus 110 at DraftKings. That's a great way to bet a big favorite.
It's a good one.
If you think the starting pitcher is going to pitch deep, leave the game with a lead, and you have faith in the bullpen to close it out for you, that's a great prop bet. That's a great derivative bet to look at. The pitcher to record a win, and look at that, you get minus 110 with that instead of the minus 270 to 320 that we're seeing with the Mets in that game. Huge difference, no doubt. Bieber's been all over the map. Some days he's been good, some days he's been not. I know I've had a couple of games where I've tried to fade him, and like the Tampa Bay game recently, and it didn't go well. He pitched well, so I'm kind of staying away from Bieber games, and of course, I'm not ready to lay a big price with him on the road. I don't really love Alexander's current form necessarily, and the fact remains the Tigers are 0-6, in his last 6 starts, so they've not been winning with Alexander on the mound. It's a pretty easy pass for me here.
No, I agree with you. It's an easy pass. These games against these AL Central squads are just ultimate stay off spots for me at the end of the day. And speaking of AL Central squads, let's talk about game 2 of this doubleheader real quick. Game 1 is still going on. Royals are winning right now, I believe 4-1. Last time I saw from the updates in the chat. Ultimate pass game for me, doubleheader. Game 1 hasn't finished yet. If I had to make a play gun to head here, it'd be White Sox, just because they're gonna. I think the doubleheader split theorem is a good way to roll with doubleheaders. But ultimately, I pass here.
You know what? The White Sox are another team where I think there's 2 shitty pitchers on the mound. We got to look at the over, and I feel that way about this game with Davis Martin and John Heasley in the second game, and yet I fear we're going to see something like today with them against Singer's better, obviously, than Heasley, but you get my point. Chicago sometimes doesn't even hit bad, brutal pitchers, and that has been my issue with them lately. They should smash Heasley. Heasley is one of the, if you look at FanGraphs and all the advanced numbers, he is one of the worst pitchers in Major League Baseball in a lot of those advanced numbers. He has been that horrendous. And now the ERA is starting to catch up with Heasley now as well to really how poorly he's pitched. So this definitely would be an over for me. We'll see how the first game ends. But and normally I don't bet the game 2 in the doubleheader, but the over is interesting to me. I'd lean that way.
And by the way, for those you don't know, Tim Anderson out 4 weeks, I believe, 4 to 6 weeks. So definitely not going to be in the lineup as well. So tough break for them. Next up, Nationals Cubs here, a heavy favored Chicago Cubs team with Marcus Stroman on the bump, who has had his struggles at Wrigley Field. We all know the home ERA being almost an 8 and then road being a 2.26. That's always like the biggest thing that comes up with Marcus Stroman when you're capping him. But really, Romano, I mean, the line's kind of telling me that he's going to dominate here. And I think that obviously that's kind of like an outlier statistic. That's his ERA is never going to stay at 8. I think it's going to come down. And I think this is obviously just an easy spot for it to come down here. The Nationals are horrible. 26 against righties, 81 rated runs created plus since the All-Star break. Just bad ball by the Nationals, and I don't trust Paulo Espino at all. So definitely a Cubs look in some form or fashion here.
I think a first 5 under look potentially in this game as well. And if you had that last night with the Nationals and the Cubs, you were a winner, but you would have lost if you had the full game over. And that's exactly why I stress first 5 under, because the Washington bullpen is pretty rough. And they're very capable of giving up the late runs, and they did that. Hell, even the Cubs bullpen gave up a couple to Washington, helped that game get over the total. But I think early in the game, runs will be at a premium. Stroman does have a bloated ERA at Wrigley Field, but he had his best start of the season at Wrigley Field the last time he pitched here, July 16th, 1 run against the New York Mets, and a good baseball team. And a good offense. So I think he's going to turn it around. This is probably one of the weakest lineups he's faced, in recent games. He's had to play St. Louis, pretty good lineup. Philly's been hitting better lately. The Mets, the Dodgers. He's faced some pretty good lineups, Stroman. This ain't it right now. And they're starting to finally look like the Washington lineup post Juan Soto and Josh Bell trade that we thought they'd look like. Remember the first few games, they were actually still scoring 5 runs or so. But no, they're starting to struggle a bit with the bats. Now, Espino struggled his last 2 starts. But again, Philly and St. Louis, they're above average lineups, both of them. I think he's going to have a chance to pitch better here against the Cubs tonight. His road ERA, it's not great, but 4.25. I just don't know if the Cubs night in and night out are going to be offensively able to hit, pitchers like this. They're the decent pitchers, not great, but we've seen even the Cubs struggle against them. So this to me looks like first 5 under if I were to do anything.
Beautiful. Good looks there, Ian. And as always, the weather in Wrigley Field is one of the more important things that you guys should look at. So remember, when you do that, just go look up and see how the weather is going. But a pass game for me, Tampa Bay, Milwaukee. And this game was interesting. A very interesting game to cap here. Freddie Peralta on the bump here. And of course, by the way, I wrote down Brandon Woodruff last night. And I wrote down, I did my whole cap. And then 2 minutes before the show, I realized it's definitely not Brandon Woodruff. It's absolutely Freddie Peralta. So that really annoyed me. So this is a pass game for me. I'll say that now just because I did not cap this game with Freddie Peralta, which is frustrating. But the Tampa Bay Rays are just interesting because obviously they start our boy Jimmy Yacobonis here, a righty, to try to bring out that righty lineup from the Brewers. And then they throw Ryan Yarbrough right behind him, who obviously is capable of coming out of the bullpen, whatever. He's just like the creative pitcher from the Tampa Bay Rays. And they're bad against lefties at the end of the day. Just really bad against lefty, the Brewers are. 21st, 75 weighted runs created plus since the All-Star break. And I looked at the lineups here, and they basically just went righty-lefty, which, Craig Counsell's a good manager. I trust him, and I don't track the bullpen or the everyday usage of the lineup for the Brewers, so I don't know if it's something different. But I just found the whole chess match between these two managers to be interesting. I do think that Ryan Yarbrough is a susceptible pitcher to get touched up here, but I don't trust the Brewers at the end of the day. I think they just got a bad vibes around them, and I'm not going to bet on them until they figure out, they have their kumbaya meeting, and they maybe get back into this fight. But pass game for me.
So I never doubt Kevin Cash. You can say what you want about Counsell, but I never doubt Kevin Cash. And Kevin Cash has used Ryan Yarbrough. Never mind Yacobonis. Don't cap this game, worrying what Yacobonis is going to do. He's not going to be there very long. An inning, maybe 2 at the most, and that's being generous. You're going to see a lot of Ryan Yarbrough tonight. And look, in this bulk relief role, after coming in for the opener, that's been basically his role the last few starts. He's given up just 5 runs total in his last 14 innings against the Royals and the last 2 games, Baltimore and Toronto. Teams that are obviously potential playoff teams, and Toronto is one as of right now. So
and high familiarity.
Yeah, exactly. And they know a lot about his arsenal being in the same division. So he still pitched well in those games. And you mentioned the struggles against lefties for the Brewers. They're real. I don't know how much we're going to get out of Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta's on. He's as good as it gets, but he hasn't pitched much this year. He's just came back from a long, period of time away in his last start on August the 3rd. He only went 3.2 innings, kind of labored through it. Definitely concerning, in my opinion. I actually took a small piece of the Rays full game at plus 150 in that range. I think it's, I think I'm always interested in Tampa Bay when they're getting this kind of price. Plus 150. They're used to these days where it's just reliever by, but reliever after reliever. They're used to these kind of starts. They've actually played some better baseball here. They've won 4 of their last 5. Granted, Detroit was the series. They won 3 of 4, so that's not saying a lot. This will be much tougher, but Brewers aren't playing great at the moment. They're only 1-6 in their last 7 games, so they're kind of scuffling right now, Milwaukee. So as long as Yacobonis doesn't bury this team in the first inning or whenever he's in,
and that's possible,
and they're down 4-0 before he can blink, before you can sit in your seat at Miller Park. Unless that happens, as long as that doesn't happen, I think Tampa Bay could be live in this one. And I think it's just that's a big number for Milwaukee. They're scuffling. Peralta's not exactly a guy I trust to pitch deep into the game because he sure didn't the last start. So I think you could do worse than taking Tampa plus 150 here, taking a shot. Full game.
I think the whole chess match is fascinating with the pitchers here for sure. I mean, like I said, the Brewers are first against righties. since the All-Star break, dominating. And then, of course, Craig Counsell knows that they struggle against lefties right now, so he does this whole thing to try to give Yarbrough the favorable matchups. Will it work out? I'll be interested to see for sure. And I do think Freddie Peralta, second start off the IL, I think he'll pitch better here. I think he'll pitch better for sure. So I'd also lean towards an under here. But Jimmy, our man Jimmy here is, I don't know if he's trustworthy. I don't know if he's trustworthy at all. Let's talk about the Texas matchup here, Rangers, Astros, the Blackout Bowl, as I call it. And it's interesting to me here because I kept this game pretty hard because I find it interesting, and I'm leaning towards a full game under or first 5 under here. I'm probably going to first 5 if I had to pick. We can talk about both these pitchers' last appearances. Baltimore 6 innings, 1 earned run for Martin Perez. The Red Sox 7 innings, no earned runs for Urquidy, and Urquidy he was just dazzling. He's really, really good that day. But against Texas, Urquidy's 4-0 with a 2.06 ERA and 6 games started against him. This year he's 1-0, 2.84 ERA, 2 games started against him. Martin Perez 9-5 with a 2.64 against the Astros. So both these pitchers pitched really well against them. And by the way, Martin Perez this year against the Astros 1-0 with a .56 and 2 starts against them. Pretty shocking. 16 innings pitched, 10 hits, 1 earned run. So I think the Astros are hitting lefties as hard as they have been all year right now in this stretch. They're third, 152 weighted runs created plus, 6th in the season, 114. And I was like, man, I don't know. Am I going to trust Martin Perez here? And I think I am. And this was one of the 2 plays that I was like, all right, first 5 under here. If I can hit this play and then another play that I have later on the card, I'll start feeling good about myself. And I'll start feeling like I could actually be a good handicapper again. So I'm looking at our first 5 under here. And what do you think?
So he's given up 1 run in each of his last 4 starts, Perez. And, I was looking to fade Perez in the second half, and he's actually continued to roll along pretty nicely. You could quibble, though. Angels, Athletics, 2 of the worst offenses in baseball in 2 of those starts. It'll be much tougher here. And you mentioned Houston's crushing lefties, but it's hard to argue with a first 5 under here because Urquidy's been trending under the total. He has now given up 3 runs or less in 9 straight starts. Jose Urquidy's been very good during this last couple of months, 2.3 ERA at home. If you look at Urquidy, he has had 1 great start against after another for the most part against Texas. He's dominated them 5-1. He's given up 2 or less in 5 of those 6 starts lifetime against the Texas Rangers. So he has a good track record against this lineup. So it does feel like over or under, I should say, in the first 5. It's a pretty solid look. As far as the side goes, you know that Texas is 10-0 in Martin Perez's road starts this year. How about that for a stat?
Wow.
10-0. So if you're buying into this, hey, they're undefeated on the road with Perez on the mound, maybe you take the plus price here with Texas. I'm not doing it because I think this could be the night where he gets hit. This is an elite lineup that's great against lefties. I'm still waiting for Perez regression. Maybe it's just going to be one of those years it doesn't happen. It doesn't show up, the regression for this guy. Yeah. And so I'm passing on the side. I have a lean to the first 5 under.
We will talk about that first 5 under later on in the show. We do have to pick up the pace a little more. This is my fault because I'm a little long-winded today. 5:30 East. No, sorry.
Yep. Daily
6:30 Eastern. Yep. Yes. There we go. Hold on. I got to sneeze here.
The most relaxing show on Pub Sports Radio's channel, right there.
It is. It's a good time, Ian. I hope to see you on there yesterday. I made my debut on there yesterday, or I should see you on the future, and then me yesterday. But yeah, it was a good time. Go watch that and go watch it after our show as always. I can go super speed here. This is a pass game for me. I do not trust Ryan Feltner, and I wanted to look at Mikolas here. Be like, how many times has he come to Coors? Has he come to Coors ever? And, you forget that he's been in the league or was in the league a long time ago, went to Korea, come back, that whole thing. So he's had 3 starts in Coors, 1 in 18, 1 in 19. Or I should say this is going to be his 3rd start. He had his 2 there, 1 in 18, 1 in 19. Gave up 5 runs, 4 of them earned in the first time, 3 runs, the second time off 2 home runs. Cardinals are 3rd against righties, 128 rated runs created plus. I probably lean towards an over here, but obviously the 11 is always a dicey number to take in Coors. But if I had to pick gun to head, it's a Rocky side for me just because I do not trust Mikolas. And I ultimately don't trust the Cardinals bullpen all that much. And Ryan Feltner just It's not good, but those are the dice you have to roll here.
Yeah, he isn't good. He isn't good. This to me has to be some form of Cardinals first five, Cardinals run line, Cardinals team total over, or as you said, the full game over. The problem is it's 11, it's juiced. The Rockies have actually been going under some of these bigger totals at home lately. The last couple against the Dodgers stayed under the total here at Coors Field. In fact, I've got them 7-1 to the under their last 8 home games here in Denver. So that's the issue. It's definitely an over matchup. I think the Colorado Rockies can do something. You mentioned it. He's actually got an 8.44 ERA lifetime, Michaelis here in Denver at Coors Field, which isn't good. And obviously, I think Feltner can get crushed and can get hit because that's been the pattern with him. So definitely lean over 11, but it's a high number, and Colorado's been kind of trending under. So that's probably just a lean for me.
Yeah, I mean, hey, people know about how the Colorado Rockies work here and how that affects the ball. So they intentionally put those lines high as hell so those unders can hit. So shout out to Vegas, I guess. Let's talk about this game next. Angels, A's, and this is the other spot, Ian. I capped this game, and I see it often. Jimmy talks about it, sharp line movement, sharp money on James Caprillion. And I can tell you, against the Angels, it makes perfect sense to me. He's 3-0 against them, career 1.17 ERA in 4 games started. He just seemingly just owns these guys. Has Ohtani's number 2. Pitched against them last time at the Angels, 5 1/3, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks, 1 walk. Of course, this is the very same matchup. I want to look up Caprillion's home road splits right now as well. But Ohtani against the A's is shocking as it seems. He's 2-3 with the 3.49 ERA. So I want to move on the A's here. Bobano, as shocking as, again, I keep saying it, as shocking as it is, I want to move on the A's here in a form or fashion, whether that's a first 5 money line. I do not know yet, but I want a piece of the Oakland Athletics today.
Wow, that's really something. I don't. Certainly from a price standpoint, you can't lay $1.80 with the Angels. I definitely agree with that. But you want to go against Ohtani that much with this putrid lineup? And
exactly. Yeah,
that's the issue, right? I mean, and look, Ohtani hasn't been nearly as sharp the last 3 starts. In fact, they're 0-3 in his last 3 starts, and he had that bad outing against Atlanta. Kind of labored against Oakland the first time, and they lost that game 3-1 to Oakland as a huge favorite. So maybe they can lose to Oakland again with Ohtani on the mound. But I think Ohtani will be better. Facing that same team a second time, I could see him shutting them down completely, kind of like what we saw last night. Barria, Suarez last night for the Angels ended up shutting them down. That's a bad sign. Now you got to face Ohtani. I certainly think the under. It's but 6.5. I don't bet unders at 6.5 flat out. I just don't. It's too low. You can almost get over a total like this by accident, but it does feel like this could be 3-2 for somebody, or even 1-0 or 2-1 like we saw last night. So we'll lean under, but I'm staying off a side.
I thought the same thing. I'm expecting this to be low scoring again. Last time it was 3-1, I believe, like you mentioned. And boy, it's tough to bet a first 5 under like 3. That is just so brutal to take. Same thing with the full game. So instead I'm going to take the A's here, but we'll see if it's first 5 or full game. And, maybe I'll take both and leave myself open to a push. I don't know, but we'll see how that goes. Next game on our slate, an ultimate pass game. The fucking Pirates bit me in the ass yesterday by getting shut out. Really fucking pissed me off. This was another game that just set me ablaze last night, seeing the Pirates just not being able to do anything. So I am not talking about the Pirates for 24 hours. I'll put myself on a 24-hour suspension about talking to the Pirates. I'm not raising it. The flag is in the closet, and we're closing the door. Tommy Henry is a lefty. The Pirates struggle against lefties. So I don't know. We'll see what happened. He pitched well against the Cleveland Guardians. Tommy Henry did, and a home run just kind of ruined his day. Take that home run away. He only gave up 1 earned run. So obviously it's easy to say you take away the home run, he has less runs. But I like Tommy Henry. The Pirates are frustrating. Pass.
It's a pass for me. I considered the over. It's 8.5, and I don't love either pitcher right now. Zach Thompson's been hitting pretty badly in 2 of his last 3 starts, and one of them was Miami, which can't hit a lick. So I don't know if I trust Thompson. Henry had the one start against Cleveland. He struggled, 4 runs, 5 hits. That game went over the total. Thompson's last 3 starts have gone over the total. I thought about the over, but I also thought about the fact that Arizona's not hitting much these days, and Pittsburgh, really outside of that one game against Baltimore where they scored 8, a lot of that was against the Baltimore bullpen. They haven't done a lick offensively. So all this great uptick we saw about a month or two ago when they first got O'Neal Cruz and some others in the lineup, that's certainly dissipating right now for the Pirates. So it's a lean over, but that's it. I probably won't bet it.
Yep, agreed there. Let's not bet it and let's move on. Giants Padres here. And this is a tough game for me, truthfully, because Jimmy liking the full game over 7.5 in this game. I think that he said it was his most confident play if he had to pick one. Padres are a frustrating team right now. I also bet their team total over last night. They didn't do jack shit for me. Frustrating performance. 1-0 win for the Giants, I believe it ended up being. They're 5th against righties since the trade deadline. I specifically moved this split because I'm like, all right, I don't really care about what happened since the All-Star break, new team, whatever. 5th against righties since the trade deadline. They just can't hit lefties, it seems. And that's a frustrating thing, whatever. Something we have to keep in the back of our mind. Lefties against Padres. We'll see what happens going forward. 132 weighted runs created plus. So I think they can get to Cobb. Cobb, 1-0 against them. He 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned run, 10 Ks appearance, but obviously a different Padres team. So maybe we throw that out in the trash. Joe Musgrove pitches really well against these guys too. 3. Oh man, let me see. I can't even read my own chicken scratch anymore. But I can tell you in 2021, he's 1-0 to 2 starts, has not given up a run against them. So a pass game here, but we'll talk about that over in the friends and family later in the show. But I ultimately, when I capped it, I really thought under when I first capped it. So I don't know. It's tough. And I'm obviously cold as shit. So maybe it was a good thing that I thought the other side of the parlay. So we'll see here, Ian. What do you think?
So the Padres are on a 23-inning scoreless streak. I mean, for all the huffing and puffing everyone did about the lineup and how much better it was going to be with Soto and Bell, they can't hit a lick right now. And it's mostly against lefties, but they didn't hit Gonsolin, who's been kind of struggling lately. And then Gonsolin pitches against them to start that Padres series, and Padres get completely shut down. And
Ian, I'll push back on that and saying that was the ghost of Vince Scully giving them the victory that night. Because I remember, because I bet, of course, as a fucking donkey, I bet on Padres money line, not realizing that was Vince
Scully's first home game after Scully's passing. Right,
fucking sickening. Yep. So I'm blaming Vince Scully on that one.
We don't blame Vince Scully for shit. All right, he's an absolute legend. But and rest in peace. We'll miss him. I've got a small bet on San Francisco here. First 5 and full game split. I mean, I know Cobb's a tricky one to trust. He's got a 6 ERA on the road. He hasn't been consistent, and he's actually struggled against Padres and certainly the Dodgers. He struggled with, but a couple of his recent starts have been a little bit better. He's given up 4 runs in his last 2 starts combined, Cubs and Dodgers, here in his last few starts. And don't look now, Joe Musgrove's struggling. He's finally hit a rough patch. He's given up 17 runs in his last 4 starts combined. That's 17 runs over just 21 innings of work. That's not good. And this is a worry for the Padres. That
just gave him a contract.
Card, yeah, exactly. You got him the big contract, and he's turned to shit ever since then, essentially. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is just not what we saw from Musgrove early on. He's now given up, like I said, 17 runs in his last 21-plus innings. That's not good. And they're 0-4 in his last 4 starts as well. And they're not hitting a lick right now. And I got to see this team put the bat on the ball and put some runs on the board before I'm ready to lay minus 175. Even against Cobb and the Giants, who are up and down and mediocre. So San Francisco for me. And I was on San Fran last night, and we got there. I'm daring the Padres to hit until they do. It's fade city, especially in this price range.
No, I like the look. I really do, just because the Padres will be that sexy team everyone's going to bet on for a little bit, and it seems like maybe it's slowed down a little bit because of how apparent the Padres got smacked by the Dodgers, but yeah, no, I like the look there. And by the way, to make people feel a little better about their Braves bets, Tanner Houck, 15-day IL. So there goes one of the 3 good relievers the Red Sox have. So now they only have 2.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's that.
it's been rough. I mean, it's been absolutely rough. I mean, for this team, I mean, trying to hit the baseball as of late, just not very good whatsoever. And when you look at it last night, it's not Tim Lincecum or Madison Bumgarner in his prime shutting you down last night. That's Alex Wood, who's been erratic and up and down.
I thought
This
you were
year,
gonna drop a Barry Zito.
yeah, Barry Zito. You're right. He had a couple of just amazing years there. Well, more of them with Oakland, but still San Francisco. He was with them for a bit. But bottom line is, I mean, it's just this lineup is ice cold right now, and that's not a team I'm laying minus 175 with. No way.
That's all I've got for Giants good pitchers there. Barry Zito is the deepest my bag goes, unfortunately. Sorry to all the old heads in the chat right now. Minnesota Twins versus the Dodgers here. Los Dodgers. Julio Urias versus my guy, Joe Ryan. I love him a lot, but the lines move towards the Dodgers, and it makes a whole lot of sense. They're just a fucking machine in the regular season. They're just a machine, and keep out cranking these wins. They're on the same pace the 2018 Red Sox were on, and the 2018 Red Sox was the best Red Sox team ever. If you just statistically, the best Red Sox team ever. So I'm not going to get in front of this wagon anymore. Good luck to all the teams playing them. Maybe a first 5 under here if you want to trust Joe Ryan against who the 6th best team against righties since the All-Star break, 123 weighted runs created plus. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to. I could see like another San Diego Padres start for Joe Ryan where he just gives up a shitload of home runs. Maybe it was a little unfortunate there, but no thanks. Pass.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to take a small piece of Minnesota here. I mean, I think the price is now, and it's not easy to beat the Dodgers right now. I get it. The 8 in a row, their offense is good. The starting pitching's solid. The bullpen's actually been very good lately, pretty much up and down. And Julio Urias has just been magnificent the last 3 starts. It's tough to even get 1 or 2 runs against him. But we're talking about now the Dodgers laying an even bigger price than they did even in those games against San Diego, over the weekend. And Minnesota ain't chopped liver. And they actually have a day off following the Toronto series at home to, get out to the West Coast for this. And I still think there's a decent pitcher in Joe Ryan. He had that one brutal start against San Diego, but really outside of that, he's been serviceable in these games. I think there's a little value on Min. Do I love it? No. Is it best bet? No. Is it? No. We unload the account on it? Of course not. But I'm talking about now where it just seems like there's a little value in this money line price on Minnesota at around plus 215. So we put a couple shekels on the Twins, even with the Dodgers red hot right now. Keep in mind, too, the Dodgers, San Francisco last week, big series, big rival. San Diego after that. And all the pomp and circumstance and the memories of Vin Scully and all the tributes and all that. And now you've got a day off, and now you got to start up a new series outside the league, outside the division against the Minnesota Twins, and you're coasting basically to the NL West title. I'm not saying flat spot from a mile away, but I'm concerned about it a little for the Dodgers tonight. Maybe a little flat spot here after that week that they had last week against their rivals and Vin Scully's passing and all the tributes they did. So there's enough reasons at this price to have a small investment, modest investment on Minnesota here.
And I'll tell you, the value, of course, if we're just strictly talking about value, is obvious on Minnesota here. They're a first-place squad. You're going to give them almost plus 200. And we know the Dodgers, they're great, obviously. Like we mentioned, they're on a torrid pace, but they got swept by the Pirates at home as well. So they've been swept by lesser teams. They've been beaten by lesser teams at home. So I definitely wouldn't disparage anyone by taking the Twins here for sure.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, no, look, I get it. They're only 6 games above 500, pales in comparison to the Dodgers. But this is a division leader that we're talking about. It's a pretty shitty division, granted.
This could be a World Series matchup.
Division leader. Exactly. And we're talking about giving them a plus 215 price tonight. I think there's value. We'll see.
Yeah, hey, crazier things have happened. And this could be a World Series matchup. Who knows? It would be interesting. And it would be hilarious just to see minus 200 favorite in every game in the World Series. That'd be so fucking funny. Last game on our slate, an interesting game, and a game that I'm not going to move on. We've got Garrett Kermit Cole here going against Seattle Mariners, Luis Castillo, rematch of their start. I don't know what date it was, but it was a couple days ago. 5 or 6, if you can guess that. But his first start, Luis Castillo, he pitched okay, 6 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. A home run, maybe you could chalk that up to obviously a little Yankee Stadium there. I think there will be a lot of energy for his first start at home here. But I really, man, I'm gonna hate myself for saying this. I'm gonna choke these words out, but I think Garrett Cole's gonna have a good start here tonight. I don't think he's gonna get back-to-back bad starts against the Mariners here. It was the first inning where he got pieced up, and of course, Yankee Stadium. I feel like honestly, if you gave him some truth serum, he would also say he hates pitching in Yankee Stadium because of all the home runs that like someone like Jared Kelenic can get off of him, and that would just piss me off if I was him. So I probably lean towards the Yankees. The line I move towards the Yankees. If you think Luis can do it again, hold these guys down, the fifth best offense since the All-Star break, 123 weighted runs created plus here. Again, a first 5 under, maybe a full game under, but it's probably a 3.5, maybe a 4, but still just too tight for me to bet here. If I was adding a parlay piece, a cheap parlay piece, I probably look at the Yankees here, but ultimately I'm passing on this.
Yeah, this one's a tricky one. A small bet on the over, believe it or not, just because it's 7 at even money. I mean, with the two capable lineups, and I think Garrett Cole will pitch better, but he can pitch great tonight, and the game could still slip up and over the total at 7, because I think the Yankees will do more damage against Castillo. This will be their second time to look at Castillo, kind of like it was against Gilbert as well last night, and they just had their way with Logan Gilbert last night in that game. I think they'll have some better approaches and swings against Castillo, who did pitch well against Yankee Stadium against them recently, but I think it'll be a little bit different here tonight against for him against the Yankees the second time around. But as far as the side goes, I'd probably lean Yankees too. But I still stand by my belief that there's going to be money to be made fading the Yankees the rest of the season. Now, I know they got off the schneid last night, and I think I'd probably lean their way tonight, but make no mistake about it, there's going to be spots to go against the Yankees. I just don't know if tonight's one of those nights.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really don't think Garrett Cole is gonna. I don't remember exactly who it was now, but he had a stinker start like this. It might have been the Orioles, I think. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, it might have been the Jordan Lyles start where he struggled. Lyles got the better of him, and I won that minus 300 fade. There was the first one, I believe it was, and then he came back the next start against the Orioles and just dominated him. And he is. Though I call him a beta male, and he very much can be a little bitch. He has the alpha energy on the mound. He's a bulldog, and I fucking hate complimenting Garrett Cole so much. And I definitely think he can go out there and dominate tonight. So those are the nicest things I have to say about Garrett Cole today. So let's move on and let's recap our plays here. And we were making pretty good timing here. We got 4 minutes-ish left till the daily sesh. So shout out to them. Go watch the show right after us here.
Tune in, Cabby and Dutch.
Yep. It's going to be a good time. They've got a lovely guest here today whose name escapes me, but I'm sure he's going to be great. So let's talk about our plays. Ian, I'll let you take the floor. But before I do, I obviously want to plug something real quick. Remember, everyone, we are currently and always raising funds to fund another Pubapalooza trip. This next one's going to be on the East Coast, Atlantic City. I've never been to Atlantic City, fun fact, so I don't know what state it is. Is it in Pennsylvania? I don't know.
Are you serious asking that? New Jersey?
Yeah, I had no idea.
You didn't know. You legit didn't?
Yeah, no idea. See, there you go. But yes, so Atlantic City will be our next Pubapalooza. I'll put the link in the chat right now. Donate, buy me a coffee is the... I don't know if you want to call it service provider, whatever. It's the medium we use to have these donations. Buy us a coffee. All the money goes back to you guys for hotel accommodations, food, all that stuff. Jeff wants all that money to go back to you guys at the end of the day. So donate in any way you can. Buy us a coffee. It helps us all out tremendously. And
so it goes to a good cause, partying and drinking your ass off at a great trip with all our family, our pub family. So that's the cause.
Exactly. Let me tell you right now, when Ian steps into the room, he causes mass hysteria. I'm gonna tell you that right now. As someone that listened to Nas about 5 seconds before the show started today, watch out, because I know when Bobano hits the scene, mass hysteria erupts.
Oh yeah, the next road trip, COVID ain't gonna cut my concert and karaoke time short. That ain't gonna happen like it did in San Antonio.
It's not. I hope not. I cannot wait for it. Bobana, what are your official plays here for the day?
All right, let's go rapid fire. Remember, we got daily sesh coming up with Cabby and Dutch. Philly first 5 full game run line. Mets first 5 full game run line and the over. We've got lean to the Rockies, Cards over, probably passing though. San Francisco first 5 full game split small. Toronto first 5 run line, full game run line against Baltimore. Lean White Sox Royals game 2 over 9.5. Lean Yankees, Atlanta, Boston. We got Atlanta first 5 run line, full game run line, and over 9.5 full game. Small shot on Tampa Bay plus 150. I just think that's too big to be given the Rays that. Same thing with the Twins. Do I love it? No, but plus 215. Dodgers, after the very emotional week they had against 2 division rivals, Twins could be able to pick them off tonight if Ryan can pitch well, and that's a big if. But still think there's value on Minnesota. So there you go.
Beautiful. Ian, before you listen to me do my plays, we do, as you might know, a say hey parlay at the end of the shows. I try to do this every show now, and I try to get a piece from my co-guest host, whatever we want to call you for every day. But I think I'm going to make this one different from the friends and family. Shout out to Pete and Jimmy, and I'll give that one here in a second. But I would love one from you here, and I will go ahead and say that the New York Yankees money line is my piece of that say hey parlay. So no pressure if you want to look around and see if you got one now, and you can mention it after I go through it here, or if you got one now, you can shout it out. But I will appreciate one from you, my man.
Atlanta Braves full game run line. We'll go with that. minus 1.5.
Man, Ian, you really just chose the one that hurts me the most, huh? You choose, or I choose the Yankees, and then you choose the Red Sox getting smacked. So that is maximum punishment for me here. And by the way, for those keeping track at home, I've got a minus 105 on that run line. The plus 135, or sorry, the minus 135 is plus 240 there for the parlay. So little say hey action there. So shout out to you, and thank you very much. The official say hey plays for me, and honestly, when I woke up this morning, I was like, I'm not gonna fucking make any plays today. Like I gotta take a day, clear my head. And now I've got 4, technically 5, technically 6 actually plays, including both parlays. But I've got 4 plays here individually, and I'm feeling as confident as I can. I don't know. So we're gonna keep shooting, we're gonna keep firing, we're not letting this cold streak affect the capping. Oakland money line, I'm taking them full game, plus 148. Shohei Ohtani, I love you, dude. But we'll see how you do against the red hot Oakland A's. Toronto minus 1.5, minus 110. The Braves minus 1.5, minus 105. Both individual plays for me. So riding with you there, Bobano. So a little double up action for the Braves for me today. Technically triple up, but we'll talk about that, like I said, in a second. And my other play here, Texas-Houston, first 5 under 4, minus 105 for me, thinking that both those offenses go quietly into the night. The say hey parlay of the day here, officially on the show record, is going to be the New York Mets money line the New York Yankees money line minus 135, and the Braves minus 1.5 plus 240, like we mentioned. And if you want a little piece of the friends and family parlay, that was the one from Betting with the Bag, me, Jimmy, and Pete. It was me adding the Atlanta money line, so technically I have tripled up on the Braves, which is hilarious. Atlanta money line, the no run in the first inning in LA and Oakland, and the over in the Giant Padres game. And that is a plus 404 for you parlay heads out there. So thank you guys all very much for joining us. It was a lovely edition of Say Hey Plays. The daily sesh starting right now. So go click over right now. I'm sure they're about to start live, and I'm sure Dutch is motherfucking me for not being off right now. Bobano, before we leave, where can the people find you at?
Twitter at Bobano, and I'll be back. I won't be on Friday. I'm unfortunately going to a funeral Friday for a friend, but I'll be back the following Friday. So that's when you'll see me, and I'll be back next Tuesday with you right here on Say Hey Plays.
Beautiful. Well, as always, condolences and for the funeral. If you're more than welcome, if you want to jump on and cap a weekend card with us and get your mind off of any bad things, you're more than welcome to. I've always got a spot for you, my man, Ian Cameron. Thank you, as always, to everyone in the chat. Jimmy Gomez, Not Applicable, Real Deal Prime, AJ1337. AJ1337, one of the guys that reminds me of the parlay frequently. And there you go, 2 for you today, my man. So I got you. Not Applicable, Real Deal Prime, Mark, Jake Burns, Mr. MDR, Dabby Cab. Thank you, as always, for watching,
Watch them coming up, Dabby and Dutch. Tune in.
Yes. And by the way, James S. making fun of Atlantic City, Pennsylvania. That is factual statements. I did not know where it was. So like I said, guys, go donate to the Buy Me a Coffee. Help out the pub for the Atlantic City Pubapalooza trip. We'll see you guys tomorrow for another edition of Say Hey Plays. Go watch the Daily Sesh starting right now.